What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm talking about AI. We have already seen campaigns launch with their art created by AI, but how about if we just launch an entire Kickstarter through AI? Let's go ahead and see what we get. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. I want to thank you all for being here, of course. Thank you for a wonderful 2022. I've been on the bleeding edge of Kickstarter on what's going on in the industry, where it's headed for, and what it's been going through all year round. And I've appreciated your guys' support and feedback throughout that entire time. Hopefully you've seen some improvement within the channel. There is a fundraiser linked down in the description below. If you would like to donate, maybe even get a game in return, there's like 80 plus games at this point now linked down in the description below. Thank you so much. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. So this is ChatGPT. It's actually part of the OpenAI group. They are the ones that did this. They've done a lot of other visual ones as well. But I really wanted to see what it could think of, because I feel like a lot of times we can think of great ideas. I think anybody can think of a great idea. That's pretty common. We all have those shower thoughts like, oh man, it'd be so cool if we did this, so cool if we did that. But then actually doing it is what matters. So I'm going to replace the easy part, the let's have a great idea, with a robot that stopped training in, I think, 2021. So it's already a year behind the curve, but I still think it'll come out with some cool ideas. Maybe not. We will see. I also am curious, and let me know what you think even before watching this. How far detailed do you think it'll be? Will it give me specific mechanics? Can I design my entire game from idea, from theme, concept, flow through AI? And if so, do you think I could then get some AI art and launch it on Kickstarter and make $1 million? Let me know. I will give my own 2 cents once I see. I have no idea how it's going to go. I have no idea how it's going to go, but I will let you know what I think of afterwards as well. So stay tuned for that. This will be good. So let's go ahead and start out. I have literally never used this before, so this is brand new for me too. So let's just say, let's just get ideas at least. I want some great board game ideas. Maybe I should say, what are some board game ideas? What are some cool board game ideas? Let's see where it goes from there. Here are a few ideas for board games that might be fun to create and play. See, it already is talking about creating a cooperative game where players work together to solve a mystery or complete a mission. Now, that's kind of generic. The mystery is kind of cool. This could be inspired by popular games like Pandemic or Escape Room, the game. A strategy game set in a fantastical world where, oh man, it's gonna be a whole bunch, where players must build their own kingdoms, recruit armies, and compete for resources. A game that incorporates elements of physical challenges or dexterity, such as Marble Run, or a game where players must stack objects on a shaky platform. A game that tells a story as it's played, with each player's actions influencing the direction of the narrative. This could be inspired by games such as Betrayal at Baldur's Gate or Gloomhaven. Interesting. A game that simulates the experience of running a business or managing a company, where players must make strategic decisions about production, marketing, and finances. A game that involves solving puzzles or decoding clues to uncover secrets or achieve objectives. This could be similar to Mystery Mansion and Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Or a game that explores historical events or themes where players must make decisions and navigate challenges based on the specific time period and subject matter. I love the fact that it gave me essentially homework. It's like, oh, well, maybe like this game or this game. If you know about it, or maybe you can ask about it. Remember, the key to creating, I love how the AI is like teaching me now. This is fantastic. Remember, the key to creating a successful board game is to make it enjoyable and engaging for the players. You should also consider the age range and interests of your intended audience when designing the game. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go in and try and follow up on one of these, see if it can follow along. Maybe we can dive in more. I'm thinking, by the way, either something like the narrative one where it mentions Betrayal, Baldur's Gate, and Gloomhaven, but I might also do something around the fantastical world where they build their own kingdoms and recruit armies and compete for resources. One seems a bit engine building, perhaps, another one doesn't. So I'm going to go in with the number 4. I want to create a game that tells a story like Gloomhaven or Betrayal. I'm going to give it the same keywords. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Let's make sure I say a board game. A board game that tells a story like Gloomhaven Baldur's Gate. How many players should it support? Let's see if you can give me how much are we doing here? The number of players a board game supports depends on the game design and the type of experience you want to create. Here are a few things to consider when deciding how many. It's not wanting to give me an answer. Length of play, level of interaction, difficulty of balancing, type of story. The type of story you want to tell may dictate the number of players your game should support. For example, a more personal or intimate story might be better suited for a smaller number of players, while a larger epic story might be more suited for a larger group. That's interesting. That's fast. I wonder where it's getting this information. If you're a game designer, let me know if these are the kind of thoughts that go through your head as well. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. In general, a board game that tells a story and involves a high level of player interaction and decision making might work best for 3 to 5 players. There, we got it, guys. That's the answer. I'm making a 3 to 5 player narrative board game. That's what we're doing. I want to create a 3 to 5 player narrative board game. What theme should I choose? There we go. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can get an answer. It's going to be sci-fi. It's going to be fantasy. It's going to be historical, cyberpunk. What are we doing here? The theme of your board game is an important factor that can greatly influence the gameplay and overall experience for players. Here are a few ideas for themes that might work well for a 3 to 5 player narrative board game. This thing is on point, guys. This thing has not gone a thing misconstrued really yet. I think it's like 99% there. Crime solving or mystery. Players can work together to solve a crime or uncover the truth behind a mysterious event. Maybe app-driven. Maybe we should ask about app-driven later, because that's something relatively new to board games, at least in popularity. So it may have not even heard of it. Fantasy or science fiction. Players should explore a fantastical world that face challenges and enemies as they progress through story. Historical, cultural, superheroes or villains, apocalypse or survival, political or social. Remember, the theme you choose should be one that interests you and that you're passionate about, as this will help you create a game that's engaging and enjoyable for players. No, you should create a fantasy board game, because then people want the minis for D&D. Gotcha right there, OpenAI. Geez, Chat GPT. I thought everybody knows that you make a fantasy board game with the same kind of scaling to where you could still kind of fit it in a 1-inch grid for D&D. That's what you do. You're not going to get any money with cyberpunk or sci-fi or any of that other junk. You want fantasy minis. I even know this. Maybe we can have it try and figure that out. What is the most popular theme for board games financially? Maybe that'll work. Maybe I'll just say popular and see where it takes me. Let's just see where it takes me there without giving it a hint on how much money can I make. Because really, the reason I'm getting an AI is because I don't want to put as much effort in this as possible. I want to just ask some questions and have a robot tell me what to do. It's difficult to determine a single most popular theme for board games, as different themes appeal to different players. And maybe I need to tell about Kickstarter. I wonder if it knows about that. However, some themes that have been popular in board games in recent years include fantasy, science fiction, historical, crime-solving, and social party games. Okay, it's worth noting that there are just a few examples of popular themes, and there are many other themes to pick from. The most important thing is to choose a theme that interests you and that you're passionate about. I've heard this before, as you will help you create a game that's more enjoyable and engaging to players. That is literally, like, word for word what it's set up here, guys. That's awesome. Okay, all right. What games have made the most money on Kickstarter? I'm going to say board games to be specific, just because I don't know how much it's latched onto that idea. Okay, so let's just try and find. Okay, I want a Kickstarter, right? I want you guys to fund a game without me making it right now. That's ideal. Ideally, I figure it out later. Kingdoms of Amalur re-recording is the board game adaptation to the popular video game. It raised over $4 million on Kickstarter in 2020. Gloomhaven, of course, in 2017. Root, crowdfunded card game, raised over $2.8 million Kickstarter, and The Seventh Continent. Those are not the top ones. But remember, it hasn't seen anything past 2021. I believe 2021 is when it ended, so it's a little behind. That being said, that's still cool. Obviously, the Gloomhaven at 4.4 million, I think, wins out there, but Kingdoms of Amalur at 4 million is also pretty good. Both of those are fantasy. So I think I'm seeing, and Root as well. So a lot of the Seventh Continent. So it's worth noting that these are just a few examples of board games that have raised a significant amount of money on Kickstarter. There are many other board games that have also been successful on the platform. The success of a board game on Kickstarter can depend on the variety of factors, including the game's theme, mechanics, and overall appeal to potential backers. Let's see if it can disagree with me. It seems that fantasy board games on Kickstarter are popular. Is that true? Maybe I can get some confidence in this. Fantasy themes are certainly popular in board games, and this is reflecting the success of many fantasy-themed board games on Kickstarter. Guys, this thing, I am impressed. However, it's worth noting the success of Kickstarter can depend on a variety of factors, and not okay. That's fine. There are many board games on Kickstarter in a variety of themes, including fantasy. Okay, yeah. Including Gloomhaven, Root, and Seventh Continent Kingdoms of Amalur re-recording. It's interesting. It's latching onto those. Okay, and then it gives me the same thing, depending on including the game's theme mechanics. Okay, so it's kind of almost repeating itself here. That's kind of interesting. The first and last paragraph are very similar. Okay, either way, I think it's obvious we want that. Okay, so what do we want? A 3 to 5 player? Okay, so I'm creating a 3 to 5 player narrative-driven fantasy board game. How should the art look? The art style of your board game is an important aspect that can greatly impact the overall look and feel of your game. That's right, these are physical products after all, except for Kickstarters. They're just pictures that you look at. Here are a few things to consider when deciding how the art for your 3 to 5 player fantasy board game should look. I'm really glad it reiterates, hey, I know what you're talking about here. Target audience, consider the age range. For example, a more mature audience might appreciate a more realistic art style, while a younger audience might prefer a more cartoonish or whimsical look. Theme and setting, okay, that's fine. Let's see, we got game mechanics. The art style should also match the mechanics of your game. For example, a game that has a lot of combat or action might benefit from a more dynamic, energetic art style, while a game with more strategic or puzzle. Okay. Personal preference. Oh, well, yeah, nobody cares about that. I'm trying to make money from you guys. I don't really care about my personal preference here. That's why I turn to the AI. I want it to answer my questions. There's no right way to approach art for your game. Yes, ugly art doesn't work. Well, no, never mind. They mentioned Seventh Continent. Oh! Sorry. Okay, moving on from that. Okay, so I'm thinking I want combat. I want lots of combat in my board game. Can you suggest where I'd get some cool fantasy art for it? Because I don't want to work with an artist, ideally. Let's see if it recommends art commissions. That sounds expensive. You're free, ChatGPT. Stock art. I like it. Now we're talking. There are many websites that offer pre-made art that can be purchased, or used in your game. ArtStation, DeviantArt, and I should just browse ArtStation and take some fantasy characters. Artist communities like R Fantasy Art and R Game Art. Art contests. You can hold an art contest where artists submit their work and the winning pieces are chosen to use in your game. This can be a good option if you want to tap into a larger pool of talent and get a variety of options to choose from. I like that option. That seems cool. You get that community engagement really early on where you can give an idea and then I like that. That's crowdfunding. I dig that. All right. It's worth noting that it's important to respect the rights and ownership of the art you use in your game. Thank you, AI. I'm glad you honor copyright. Make sure to properly credit the artist and obtain any necessary permissions before using their work. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, AI. Okay. So art contest. So I like that. So I think we can get the art. We're good there. We know the length. How about some actual mechanics? How should the combat work in my board game? Let's see if we can just very general. How should it work? The mechanics in combat in your board game will depend on the specific goals and designs of your game. Here are a few things to consider when designing the combat system for your board game. Game mechanics, yes, obviously. Play urgency, yes, obviously. Balance, maybe. I mean, this is a Kickstarter board game. We're not trying to be balanced here. Theme and setting, that's probably the most important part. For example, a fantasy game set in a medieval world might benefit from a combat system that involves swords and shields. Yeah, swords versus shields. You roll them and you minus the shields from the swords, and if there are more swords, You did more damage. That's like, all right, done. I'm done. That's all you need. A science fiction game so in the future might work well with a system that involves futuristic weapons and abilities. Okay, so that didn't give me really. I asked a broad question, got a broad answer. I guess I should have guessed that. Should my combat use dice or cards or both? It doesn't like to really decide on something. I've noticed that. It'll give me like bullet point, like 4. See, it's doing it again. It's like, here's some different things you can do. Now, this is interesting. Game mechanics. Is it going to player agency? No, that's doing theme and setting. Okay, so that's interesting. For example, a fantasy game set in a medieval world might benefit from the use of dice to simulate combat with swords and shields, while a science fiction game set in the future might work well in a combat system that used cards to represent different abilities and tactics. Interesting. So it's a fantasy game, so I'm assuming that means dice then, right? Dice and cards have also removed some level of player agency as the outcome of a roll or draw may be beyond the player's control. Okay. Ultimately, the best approach to incorporating dice or cards in your combat system will depend on the specific goals and design of your game. Make money. That's why I'm making a board game. I want to make money. Okay. So it's worth experimenting with different options. Nah. Okay. You said fantasy works well with dice using swords and shields. How should I determine damage? Let's see if it even gives me an example here or not. That's pretty specific. Specific. Dice rolls. You can use dice rolls determining the amount. Oh yeah, I don't want to do dice placement. What are you talking about, AI? Of course I want to roll the dice. I'm not some heathen. Wait, you could also have different dice represent different types of attacks or defenses, such as the D6 for a standard attack and a D10 for a critical hit. So that's a two roll system then, right? I'm rolling one to see if it's a critical hit, and if it is, I roll a D10, or somehow I do something else. Card draw. Instead of using dice, you could use a deck of cards. What is this? Oathsworn? Get out of here. Stat-based system. You could use the stat-based system to determine the amount of damage dealt or received in combat. For example, each player's character might have a certain amount of hit points and a damage rating, and the amount of damage dealt or received should be based on the difference between these stats, or a combination of methods. Okay. Yeah, I like that. And then it loves this whole ultimately the best approach. Ultimately, the best approach. It very much talks in a certain way. That's kind of interesting. Okay, let's see. It's worth experimenting. I don't want to do that. Okay, so I like the critical system. That's the most defined thing it gave me, so we're going to go with that. The number one, the dice rolls with the critical hits. Do you think the game I'm designing is a dungeon crawler or something else? You tell me. What do you think it is? Type of game you're designing based on the information provided. I've given you it's all your information. To determine, okay, exploration. Okay, we got to nail this down somehow. Progression, yeah. Okay, all right. Story, okay, yeah. I mean, who cares about that? I'm just going to talk about a story. I'm not going to have any of it written. This is a Kickstarter after all. I don't need to be prepared for this. Okay, let's say, would you rather play a narrative fantasy board game that is a dungeon crawler or something else? Tell me your opinion, AI. As an AI, I don't have a personal preference. Liar! Your heuristics should tell you something. And I'm unable to play board games. It's self-aware, guys. It's self-aware. Reading the dungeon crawl board games are a popular type of board game. Sold, done. Fantasy, guys, we are by the books. Fantasy, 3 to 5 player, narrative-driven board game. Oh, I need to see if it has miniatures or not. That is combat, lots of combat with shields versus swords. I'm gonna make $1 million after this video, guys. I got it. And you guys are gonna make the art for me. Yes. Perfect. I don't want to be invested in this at all. Okay, let's see here. We need to see if there are minis. Should my board game include miniatures or standees? Guys, this will determine it. This will finally put that debate to rest. If it says minis, nobody can ascertain these again. The AI knows. It has read more than you on this. It is super smart. Or maybe it's all standees. Whether or not you include miniatures of standees board game is a design decision that will depend on specific goals and mechanics of your game. Game mechanics. Miniatures and standees can be useful for presenting different characters, units, okay? However, they can add an element of complexity to the game and may not be necessary for all types of games. Production costs. Miniatures and standees can be expensive to produce, especially if they are high quality and detailed. It's going to add to the overall cost of the game. Well, that's true. Miniatures and standees can be particularly useful for games that have a specific theme or setting, such as fantasy or science fiction. They can help bring the theme and setting to life and make it more immersive for players. Personal preference. Ultimately, I love that ultimately, it's worth considering the pros and cons of what? Of what? Of what? For the complete sense of my previous response, here's a complete sentence. What? Does it have a limit to how much it can respond each time? What? That's fantastic. Yeah, apology accepted. Apology accepted. Please don't hesitate. I'm here to help. I'm glad you are. Okay, alright. So, would miniatures help me make more money on Kickstarter? There is only one answer to this question. One correct answer. Okay, however, it's important to note that the success of a board game on Kickstarter can depend on a variety of factors, and it is not accurate to say that any one element, such as miniatures, will automatically increase the amount of money you're able to raise. I think this thing needs to learn some math. In other words, it'd be nice if it looked at the top makers, right? Oh, because we're not talking profits here, right? We're talking revenue. We're board game companies. We don't care about profit. We only care about revenue. So, as a board game company that has no long-term goal here and only wants as big a number on Kickstarter as possible, do I want miniatures? That's really what I'm asking here. The game's theme and mechanics of board games is unique, okay? I mean, all this is fine. The game's funding goal. Setting a realistic and achievable funding goal can help to build trust and confidence in your project, increasing the chances of success on Kickstarter. You're a darn liar. Wait, where is it getting this information? Is it reading the forum posts, or is it actually reading Kickstarter? Where did it get this opinion from, I wonder? Increasing the chances of success on Kickstarter if you have a realistic goal. I'm a new company, after all. I guess it doesn't know that. A game marketing and outreach. A well-planned marketing and outreach strategy can help. Yeah, I'm going to have an art contest. Buzz around the game, increasing the chances of success. Ultimately, comma. Okay, alright. I think I want miniatures. How big should they be? We're going to go here, and then I think we're going to talk about how long the game should play. In other words, how long of a game? Is this going to be Twilight Imperium? It's going to give me a few options. It loves to do this list thing. So while you can definitely, I think, get a opinion on this from here, at least get the beginnings of it, it definitely tells you all the options, good and bad. It won't guide you straight to it, but it kind of leans into it, right? It gives you ideas like, hey, just set a realistic funding goal. Or, hey, you should do this. Personal preference, ultimate says miniature, okay. Should be the one you personally enjoy and feel works well with your game. Well, there's like storage and stuff too, right? It's saying theme, production, and game mechanics. But really, and again, maybe this is me on the consumer side here. I want to know storage and setup time and teardown time and table size presence and stuff, right? It's like, how big of a table do I need for this thing? Is this a Warhammer thing? What's going on here? The right size for your miniatures and the best size of your game depend on the specific goals and preferences. Okay. Well, that wasn't very helpful. Let's see. How long should a game session take? I think the game session can be, everything's a very a large amount of things. It'd be played in a few minutes, while others can take several hours. Okay, number of players. Okay, well, you already know it's 3 to 5 players. Well, yeah, it's not going to get me the whole way there. It's very obvious it's not going to get there. I need a name for the main faction in my fantasy board game. It's a statement, it's not even a question. And we also consider when choosing a name for the main faction in your fantasy board game. I love that it repeats it back to you. That's cool. Think about the characteristics of your faction. I mean, definitely if you just didn't even know how to, like, think about things. Whoa, wait, I see quotes here. For example, if the faction is a group of powerful sorcerers, you may consider a name that reflects their magical abilities, such as the Arcane Order and Mystic Circle. I just got 2 factions right there. Bam, wait, Bloody Blades and Dreadnought Legion. This game is turning out awesome. I'm 180 now on what I was getting kind of pessimistic, but these names. Okay, I got 4 faction guys. You can play as the Arcane Order, the Mystic Circle, the Bloody Blades, or the Dreadnought Legion. You choose. It will all be faction boxes that you can purchase separately, of course, because we want as many SKUs as possible, and as many add-ons as possible as well. Definitely, that's always profit right there. I love it. That's perfect. That won't be confusing at all when we have to ship it. Okay, experiment with different options. No, I'm done. I love all 4 of those. How should a fantasy faction titled... We'll do the Dreadnought Legion, because Dreadnought is kind of like leading. So let's see what it would say here. Maybe Bloody Blades too. Titled Dreadnought. It's a weird word. Dreadnought Legion. How should a fantasy faction titled Dreadnought Legion look? Appearance of your fantasy faction titled Dreadnought Legion will depend on the specific theme and setting of your board game. I've already told you it's a fantasy one. Appearance of Dreadnought Legion should fit the overall theme of setting of your game. Yeah, okay. Okay, so here's interesting. Think of the characteristics of faction. The appearance of the Dreadnought Legion should reflect the key characteristics of the group, such as their goals, values, or abilities. So they have values, I'm sure. For example, if the faction is a group of powerful sorcerers, interesting keeps going there, then you might consider designing their appearance to reflect their magical abilities, so with robes, staffs, and it keeps going magical. It's not wanting to give me... Wait! If the faction is a group of fierce warriors, you might design their appearance to be intimidating or fearsome, with armor and weapons that reflect their strength and combat prowess. I like this. So see, I've already gotten all these things. I could then go into a AI that creates art and put in stuff like Dreadnought Legion, Fierce Warrior, fearsome, intimidating, strength, right? You can put all those in and get something. So I think this is great. This is awesome. Okay. I'm trying to think of what else we would really need here. I mean, obviously there's items. I mean, there's other stuff you can, but I've seen Kickstarters launch with far less than this, actually. Oh, here we go. How should you win the game? How should the game be won? See what it says here. The way in which a board game is won depends on the specific mechanics and goals of the game. Yes, reaching a specific goal. In some games, players must work together to complete or achieve a specific goal, such as collecting a certain number of resources, building a structure, or solving a puzzle. Okay, accumulating points, eliminating other players. I guess we didn't even see if this was competitive or not. Other mechanics that are, okay. Ultimately, the best way. Ultimately. Alright. What should the name... This will be the last one. Should the name of the board game be? Choosing the name of your board game is an important decision. Yes, it is. Okay, here's a few tips. Consider the theme and setting of your game. Always do. Always do. Wait, Realms of Magic. Okay. See, for example, if your game is set in a fantasy world, you might consider the name to reflect this setting, such as Realms of Magic or the Dragon's Lair. Okay, and then if it involves buildings managing a city, you might think City of Wonders or Metropolis. Use descriptive words and phrases. Consider using descriptive words and phrases that capture the essence of your game to help shape the name. For example, if your game is a fast-paced action game, you could consider the name like Rapid Fire or Blitz. Some of these are great, some of these are not. I think it's going to be Realms of Magic. It's going to be on Kickstarter Q1 2023. That's right, I'm turning this around real quick. I'm announcing a art competition. If you want your art featured in the game, I will give you credit in the fine print at the bottom of the Kickstarter right after shipping, so right after everybody jumps ship anyway. And yeah, it'll be here real soon, guys. Realms of Magic, play as the Dreadnought Legion or the Bloody Blades, and enjoy your fantasy swords versus shields combat. Well, that was interesting. What do you think about this? Do you think this is a good brainstorming thing? Do you think you could actually successfully launch and fund a Kickstarter based off of an AI's idea of a board game. I think obviously it's just a launching pad, right? And much like the art of AI typically needs a little touch up from a human perspective to fix fingers, stuff like that, right? I think even the ideas need a little bit of touch up, but this can get you quite a ways in, and it's actually not a bad name generator either by the sounds of it. It was kind of hard to get specific examples if I wanted examples, and it very much, at least in the way I was asking questions, listen, in a very thing, it gives kind of a blanket statement, and then it gives you a list of things you could do, typically 4. In fact, I'm not sure if I ever got more than 4. I think they're just about all 4, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, seems that's the case. Just 4 every time. Up to 4 anyway. And then it would say ultimately, comma, and then kind of summarize. But sometimes it would give me some examples, sometimes not. This was pretty interesting. AI is really cool. I think it's a very powerful tool that can be used in a lot of different ways. I mean, people have been doing random name generators to make up their band's name or their party's name or, you know, their character's name in a MMO or something like that for a long time. If you think about it, well, it was just kind of a random pool, like a loot table almost, right? Where it's like, here's some options. We're going to mix and match them. Some of them, like I know the ones in like Lord of the Rings Online actually did use some logic to make sure that it was structured correct and like phonetically kind of fit the theme, right? And so there definitely has been some like low-key AI when it comes to generating ideas of something for a long time. But obviously this is a lot more advanced. Obviously it is. I don't know. Would you back my game? Would you back my game, Realms of Magic? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. I think I might. I mean, I like some of the Bloody Blades and the what was it? The Dreadnought Legion. That sounds pretty cool. So I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if you want me to do anything else with AI. We can definitely explore it and give my thoughts on it. This was kind of a broad design a board game for me. But I think honestly, you could probably ask some more specific, some more targeted questions. I might actually get better responses, maybe worse responses. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to tell right now. And of course, it's just one AI out of many as well. So if you do know of any other AI I might take a look at, feel free to let me know in the comments below as well. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your time. And I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Bye, guys.